This time, the scales of justice are weighing a defendant who transcends the boundaries of time. This case is not just a trial, but a showdown that could change the course of history. This is no ordinary trial. This is a saga in which a man who pushed the boundaries of time is being held accountable before justice. But what is the truth? Is the time traveler really guilty? Or is this a trap set for him? The truth will come out. Justice will be served. But this trial is not just the end. It is also a beginning. The Time Traveler's Court, a story beyond justice. Now it's time to find out the truth.
The courtroom was abuzz with whispers and murmurs. As the doors creaked open, all eyes turned to the man being escorted inside. He was no ordinary defendant. This was a man who claimed to have traveled through time, accused of committing a crime in an era he insisted he had no connection to. His futuristic silver suit, adorned with glowing blue lines, shimmered under the courtroom lights. His blonde hair was neatly combed, and his piercing blue eyes scanned the room with a mix of defiance and calm. On either side of him, two burly security officers gripped his arms tightly. His hands were bound with glowing high-tech handcuffs that seemed more advanced than anything the courtroom had ever seen. The judge, an elderly man with a stern face and glasses perched on his nose, banged his gavel. "Order in the court," he commanded. The room fell silent as the time traveler was led to the defendant's table. He sat down, his hands still cuffed, and placed them on the table in front of him. The tension in the room was palpable. The prosecutor, a sharp-eyed woman in a black suit, stood up and addressed the court. "Your Honor, the defendant before us is accused of tampering with the timeline and committing a crime that has disrupted the natural order of events. We have evidence to prove his guilt." The time traveler leaned back in his chair, a faint smirk playing on his lips. "I am innocent," he said, his voice calm but firm. "The crime I am accused of occurred long before I was even born. I am here to set the record straight." The prosecutor gestured to a large screen that had been wheeled into the courtroom. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," she began, "what you are about to see is irrefutable proof of the defendant's actions." The screen flickered to life, displaying grainy footage of the time traveler in what appeared to be a historical setting. He was seen interacting with people and objects that clearly did not belong to his era. The jury, a mix of humans and animals, leaned forward in their seats, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. The time traveler watched the footage with a raised eyebrow. "Is this your evidence?" he asked, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "A poorly edited video. You'll need more than that to prove I committed a crime." The prosecutor's face flushed with frustration. "Your Honor," she said, "we also have the defendant's time-traveling device as evidence. This device was confiscated at the time of his arrest and has been verified as functional by our experts." The judge nodded. "Present the device." A security officer stepped forward, carrying a sleek, metallic device that emitted a faint blue glow. The courtroom gasped as the device was placed on a table in the center of the room. The prosecutor approached it and gestured dramatically. "This," she said, "is the tool the defendant used to manipulate time and commit his crime." The time traveler leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. "That device," he said, "is not a weapon. It is a tool for exploration and understanding. I have used it to learn about the past, not to alter it." The judge studied the device, his expression unreadable. "Defendant," he said, "you claim to be a time traveler. Can you prove it?" The time traveler hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "Yes, Your Honor, but doing so may have consequences you cannot force." The judge's eyes narrowed. "Explain." The time traveler took a deep breath. "Activating the device in this courtroom could create a temporal disturbance. It is not something to be done lightly." The prosecutor scoffed. "Convenient," she said. "You claim to have the ability to prove your innocence, but you won't do it because of consequences." The time traveler met her gaze, his expression unyielding. "I am not afraid to prove my innocence," he said, "but I will not risk the safety of everyone in this room to do so." The judge leaned back in his chair, his fingers steepled. "Jury," he said, "you have heard the arguments. It is time to deliberate." The jury filed out of the room, leaving the courtroom in tense silence. The time traveler sat at the defendant's table, his expression calm but his hands clenched into fists. Minutes felt like hours as everyone waited for the jury to return. Finally, the jury re-entered the room. The foreman, a middle-aged man in a dark suit, stood up, holding a piece of paper in his trembling hands. "Your Honor," he said, "we have reached a verdict." The judge nodded. "Proceed." The foreman cleared his throat. "We, the jury, find the defendant not guilty." The courtroom erupted into chaos. Some people cheered, others shouted in disbelief. The time traveler stood up, a triumphant smile on his face. "Justice has been served," he said, his voice cutting through the noise. The judge banged his gavel. "Order," he shouted. "This court is adjourned." As the time traveler was escorted out of the courtroom, reporters and cameras swarmed him. Microphones were thrust toward his face, and questions were shouted from every direction. How does it feel to be free? What will you do now? Do you have any regrets? The time traveler paused at the top of the courthouse steps, his glowing suit catching the sunlight. He turned to face the crowd, his expression serious. I have no regrets, he said. The truth has prevailed, and justice has been done. But let this be a lesson to all. The past is not a playground. It is a sacred thing, and it must be treated with respect. With that, he descended the steps and disappeared into the crowd, leaving behind a legacy that would be debated for generations to come.